My name is Xolelwa Xorile, a librarian at the University of Free State Library and Information Services. And today I am in conversation with a publisher, a poet, an author with 10 titles under her name, an academic, a performer, a creative. And she's going to tell us more about herself. Her name is Nthabiseng JahRose Jafta. Welcome to ListPod, and thank you very much for honoring this invite.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself? I know I've said everything, but I want just to hear from you. Who are you? Where are you from? And yeah, what are you all about?
Okay. Nthabiseng is born and bred here in Bloemfontein. Kopelindaba. Kengwana ga umama.
Okay.
Siwe hela yalo sani. That has to be in there. And then JahRose then grew up to be this writer, this author, traveler, and mother. And I'm here to serve in the literary space, and that's literally what I have been doing for the last 21 years.
Okay, so we're going to get into your writing, but I want us to start with you being here at the University of Free State. So you were heading African Languages Press as the publisher, am I right, at the University of Free State? So, and we've been hearing that you started this project from the ground up. So tell us about that process and how has it been?
Oh, it has been quite a beautiful ride. So 2022, UNESCO declares a 10-year decade roadmap dedicated to the promotion, the preservation, and the development of international indigenous languages. And as a response, many institutions who have also been fixated with transformation and putting African languages or indigenous languages on the spot have responded with multiple faceted projects. And the University of the Free State also in support of the language policy, where we're supposed to make sure that our languages are also play in these spaces, decided to start an African Languages Press, and it was launched in 2022. So I joined the university then to start the ball rolling. And of course, at the time when I arrived, it was just an idea, few consultations with authors who were interested to publish at the time. And literally when I arrived here, there were 4 manuscripts on our table. And a year later, literally 6 months later, those books were done and we started launching them. And that was an open platform for everybody, really, members of the UFS community, students, staff, our engaged community scholarship, to also come on board and publish their African stories with us, particularly those who write in African languages. So essentially, that's what we've been doing since 2022.
Okay, so from 2022 up until now, I know that you have since launched many books. Can you just tell us about those books and just the process in getting them alive, like for people to have these books?
So internally, by 2025, just 2 weeks ago, we were launching our 14th book, which was a children's book written by Dr. Babani. So she was one of the first people who came in and heard about the African Languages Press. She had at the time had written this book in English and had an interest of translating it into Sotho.
Yeah.
So we did that for her, and 2 weeks ago we were launching the Sesotho translation for her. So we've had your Dr. Jerry Mofokeng Wamageta, who also, when we launched the first African Languages Press event, we were launching his book, I'm a Man.
Okay.
Yes, which was also in English. And there, the director and officials and other faculty members who were there decided that the book needed to be accessed in African languages as well. So we translated the book into Sotho. So it was one of the big projects that we did, especially because he's a prominent figure himself, a recipient of a doctorate here also. We've had students who published through us. We've held creative writing hubs in collaboration with the Academy for Multilingualism, or Dr. Nomalungelo Ngobeni or Dr. Hlongwa from Qwaqwa. So between Qwaqwa, South Campus, and here we would host these creative master classes. And the creative output out of those would be these students' anthologies. So Tuho was one of those, Tuho The Awakening, a multilingual creative output from our very students, which was quite lovely. We've had Nyaupe, translated in 5 languages, from Kiswahili to isiZulu, Setswana, and English. Originally, it was written in Sesotho. It was written by our former staff member here in the library, who was also behind the establishment of the press, Marcus Mapile, who then soon left the university afterwards. So we've been engaging with a lot of academics, a lot of students, and people whom we've been marketing the press to outside and then submitting their manuscripts. Just this season, we have few doctors from the University of Cape Town, UNISA, Wits, the National University of Lesotho, who are also interested in publishing with us, contracted and everything. And in the next seasons, those books will also be out. So there have been a lot of those community engagement, scholarship activities that have been making sure that we market the press and people know about it. And there's been a huge interest really in the space where people are recognizing what the University of the Free State has been doing, and they're keen to join the train.
Yeah, you've done a lot. Actually, when I walk through the passages in the library and the corridors, I always meet up students, and then they're like, I want to know about the African Language Press because I have a book, I have, so to hear the work that you have done, even with the creative workshops where the students can actually, make sure that they're perfect or they get their writing to a place where they can even publish. So it's really great to hear. And I want to hear about the role of the university's press, in shaping the literature and scholarship, particularly in preserving and promoting African languages press. So what is your view on that?
Well, that was a necessary mission. And I think the university has done a great job really in giving the platform, enabling the environment for that work to happen. And we don't just, develop, preserve, but we also have to put our languages in use. It has to be normal for a student to say, well, I'm ready to actually play in the field and use my own language. In the Creative Hub, the first session that we had, it was actually facilitated by Dr. Malete from the African Languages Department and Dr. Mahanke from the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture at the time, and Dr. Jerry Mufukengwa Maketa as our master. And he was the one making sure that we're going to have this stellar cream, right? We had about 24 students in the first day. And then they started scaling down to about 18 in the second day.
Yeah.
And by the time the classes were done, we literally had 12 students who are the ones who were inside the book.
Yes.
And simply because a lot of students didn't really feel comfortable writing in their own languages. Yes, we did allow them to write in English. But here's the beautiful thing. Zuhor, The Awakening, had these 7 languages. 6 indigenous, and of course, the major one was English. The second intake, though, 100%
Yeah.
So it shows that when there's a platform that is enabled and there's encouragement and there's empowerment, and our students also begin to feel free. Even the one who said, no, I'm not comfortable to write in English, they get converted because there's something special about writing in your languages. I mean, I'm assuming we dream in Vernac, and it becomes more organic. Even the expressions and the cultural artifacts and the backgrounds and the idioms and the devices that one could pull from African languages become more rich and more textful. And the literature itself becomes more phenomenal because we borrow so much from English, and oftentimes we often have to transliterate from our own expressions in terms of what is it that exactly I want to say in English. So sometimes you first say it in your own vernac and then having to find an expression in English, and oftentimes there's gaps in between. But when you flow in the language of your forefathers, I think it becomes more relaxed.
Yeah, no, that is true. Actually, I think I love what you just said, that we're not just preserving this language, we're making use of them, because this is a language. And I think it's also great to have a platform where we can express ourselves in our own African languages. And having been a publisher, I know you wrote your book, but you just told me that this is a 10th title, if I'm not mistaken. Can you just tell us how it helped you being a publisher, how it has helped you navigate your journey into your own book that you just recently launched now?
All I wanted to do was tell stories. And sometimes when the environment is not fertile, you are forced to reflect and find ways and strategies on how you can revolutionize your own space. So back then, the option of self-publishing was not that hailed or venerated even, simply because of the challenges that it brings, particularly around quality assurance and quality checks. But I didn't want to put myself in a space where somebody is going to reject my work or say no, or it's not worthy, or whatever the case may be. So I decided to publish my own first book. And what that first book allowed me was usher me into spaces unknown. And one of them was, now you have to market the book.
Yeah.
Now you have to distribute the book. Now you need to find the end users. Where are they? The different markets that you could explore. So that first book ushered me into a whole new world of publishing that I grew very fond of. So when I published my second book and the third, and other journals for other authors, because we had multiple anthologies where poets will submit their works through UFS Press, through Poetic Blues. We had first edition and second edition where we were just servicing the poetry landscape. So by the time I published Alora, all those experiences, the different approaches to publishing or the different approaches to your own work, I think they were just more broadened. Also with exposure to other people's works, traveling, collaborating with others across different spaces, allowed me to dream further with this offering. So I needed to make it a collector's item of some note, so that when you have this book at hand, it gives you different emotions, but also transports you to different planes. So yeah, as we delve depth more into it, I think I'll broaden the scope.
Actually, when I asked about the book, so the first question was going to be, what inspired you to write this book? And she gave me the book, right? And I understood, Guti, that question is not gonna make it, because when I held the book, and then you explaining to me how the augmented reality works when you hold the book. And that for me was, can you just tell us about this cutting edge technology and how it has played a role in making sure that this book is accessible, not only as a physical copy, but also in digital platforms?
So I think in the creative sector, we always have to find a different medium on how we approach our projects, right? In fact, back in most probably 2005, I had an opportunity to be directed by Dr. Jerry Mofokeng in a poetry piece that we were doing at Pacos. And across the mentorship process, there's something very profound that he left me with. And he literally said, never be your own carbon copy. What worked yesterday might not necessarily work today. So in every book, from the second book already had an adaptation to Braille. It was adopted into a film documentary. And we had a launch documentary around it as well. And then it had an audiobook. The audiobook was a CD that was attached to the book. So adaptation is something that I love a lot, because I realize that we come from a background sometimes where reading it might not necessarily be an option for a lot of people. So how do we reach them beyond the actual copy? So a lot of people will say, oh, I actually enjoy audiobooks. I want to listen to it when I'm driving. Oh, people now, as we progress, people are more on their devices and so forth. So how do we reach them? So it's strategies that, as a creative, as an entrepreneur, as a strategist, that you always have to come up and formulate to say, how do I reach my end users? Where are they at this point? So when I started doing Zuho, actually, our student anthology, and now Alora, I wanted our young generation to actually have access with their current, which is cell phones and other devices, the digital platforms, social media, and so forth. So I'd incorporated all of that into this book. We went into studio, curated a few poems out of Alora, and recorded them with music. Actually, turned them into poem songs. So when you actually scan the pages of the book, there are images, artworks that have been curated. And if you scan these images using an app called Artivive, you experience the digital side of the book, which is literally the audio, the animation, the music, and all of it embedded together to give you that augmented reality experience. Yes. So you get the visuals, you get everything all at once. Within the palm of your hand.
Actually, just like looking at the book, I was just thinking how alive it is. You know, I think a book and the pages might be, I don't want to call it dead. Well, dead in sense of like it's made from a tree and they had to, but this is like so alive. And when you scan, as you just said, when you scan, you see the pictures moving. I don't know how to explain it, but it's really great. So you spoke about how we are dreaming in our languages. And I think this book is all about that. Alora, I just want to read the first line that comes from that. It says, for the child who gets beaten for waking up with dreams, this collection is for you. Can you tell us more about this book?
Well, we come from different environments where a girl child is told to shrink for whatever reason, really. There are still instances where some are not even allowed to go to school. Or because of the environment where you are living in, you are told you're dreaming too big, you're just a big dreamer, and you know those things are just not going to happen. Or you are just literally just shut down. Could you just stop? Because literally we don't have money, or whatever circumstances, really social ills that might be suppressing our own ambitions down. Sometimes you know where you see yourself. You know the kind of dreams, the kind of prayers, the kind of petitions that you are sending and speaking up to your own life. But sometimes it seems as if the environment is not allowing you to. So I'm just saying to you, actually, in a matter of time, just commit and keep on dreaming. And whether you are dreaming with your eyes closed or you are dreaming with them wide awake, it is okay. Those dreams are valid. And be.
I just want to snap my fingers at this point. I just want to snap my fingers. So what I also caught from the book is that not only is it written in English, but in Swahili, Arabic, Russian, Danish, Spanish, and Greek. And I know that you don't speak Greek, Nthabiseng. So tell us about the translation process and how did that come about?
So Dreams Court was part of my dissertation as I was doing my master's in creative writing. And this was happening during COVID, right? And I think that creative background of what else can I do kicked in also because we had ample of time, to ourselves, to read, to write, to explore different devices. And also the digital spaces came alive then because, what else could we do? The best way to connect to one another was through events online. Zoom came on board. Teams was our thing. And we could literally connect with the rest of the world. During COVID, we had sessions all over, from India to Lesotho to Swaziland, everybody. Particularly who are around the World Poetry Movement and the World Organization of Writers, which are the spaces where I serve in as a board member. Yeah, so as part of now me doing the creative writing, after submitting my dissertation, already through my travels, I had an opportunity to read in some of the festivals abroad. And because they don't speak English, by virtue, they will translate your work. So by the time I was submitting my thesis, I had already 3 international languages that I wanted to submit the thesis with. And the university said, no, we don't have supervisors. We're going to supervise those languages. Maybe as you publish later, you can use them. I was like, sure, no, that's fine. So I paused and just submitted the English and the Sesotho version because the Sesotho version, I could own it. And through the different travels, different collaborations with different poets from across about 4 continents, 12 countries that we were working with, visited, had an exchange with, including Egypt, which is what the whole book is curated with, that feel, where we had an opportunity also to attend the Cairo International Book Festival. And when you get into this space, you need to have an eye to identify the type of people that you vibe with, the type of collaborations or exchange programs that might hail via different institutions for your own work and so forth. And I think I have grew really fond of that because you don't just come into spaces and breathe. You know, you need to leave a mark or at least learn, if not share, and breathe into those spaces as well. And so this is the output of those travels, literally, because every time I would leave the space, I know I would have a friend that I leave that I can call for whatever reason. And they all just jumped really on the plane and said, yes, we're going to translate for you. Some we had transactions between us. Some I would translate their work as well, and they will translate for me as well. So it was just a whole process of collaboration, networking, and learning amongst different creatives.
Yeah, and I think that is what traveling does, right? Not only are you traveling as an author, but 1,000 of people are going to be traveling to Egypt, to countries that we have never been because of the book. And it's really just amazing to see. And just wrapping up, I just want to know what the role that the languages play in writing. And did you get your academic background influence in your writing style?
Yes and no, because I think as African, because we come from a rich history of oral tradition, we don't really fixate ourselves with technical writings. Yes, by virtue, as you assess and review, you realize that organically the devices and poetic language and poetics that you are using in your language, the way you enthuse your imagination and the way you are descriptive in your languages. Because I think a poet by nature, everybody can look at a tree, but a poet will see a tree moving. You know, somebody will look at the palm of your hand and you will see the conventions and the unconventional things happening beyond what the naked eye could see. And so those intricate and intimate descriptions are what thrives in most of the writers. So as I went now into the academic spaces, then I needed to be a bit more technical and be intentional about the type of poetry that I want to write and explore the different mediums as well. Enthuse your haibuns now and then, your haikus now and then. But I'm a free verse person. I'm an epic lyrical person by virtue. But I needed to be intentional also with some of my poetic blueses and know the type of structures that I used. One of the techniques that I love a lot is the voodoo poetics. And simply because they don't fixate themselves with structure. They just are. It's like the Zamanaha. When you listen to Bo Minowa Famu, Difela Soto, a lot of times they don't really fixate themselves about structures. But when they roll and they start flowing, the depth and the richness that shines through, it's just phenomenal. And essentially that's how Africans are, until of course you take it a little bit further and you're intentional about the styles that you want to write about.
And would you say that there's a growing appreciation for our indigenous languages?
Of course. You know, you would see it with bookstores.
There
was a time where you walk into a bookstore and it was just literally English that side and Afrikaans that side. But these days, you walk in there and there's a Sotho children's book. So it shows you that there's a revolution and there's something really changing in the air. And I think also what your UNESCOs are doing, they're enabling that environment, because even your Amazons and your Takealots, they're beginning to actually realize that actually the majority of people in the markets that we are serving, they speak their languages.
Yeah.
And even parents who previously might have said, I want my child to speak English fluently. Now they are coming back to say, but my child doesn't know how to speak Sesotho. So I want a book, yes, Sesotho. I want a book, yes, Xhosa, because I want them to read in their different languages. So that on its own tells you that spaces shifts and turns, and time on its own will correct things. But we need to be foot soldiers on the ground to make sure that these things are implemented, these policies are implemented.
Exactly. I just also see the shift through social media, how most of the content was curated in English, but now we see a lot of content creators coming to use their own languages in telling their own stories. And you told your own story. I asked you, what is your favorite poem here? And you actually told me that actually you have one that is highly requested. And this is me requesting you for that poem. And then we're going to be wrapping up this conversation. She already told me what the poem is, but I want her to tell us what is the poem for anyone who wants to maybe just get a taste of what this book has.
So the poem that has been requested in the different launches that we've been having for Alora in Bloemfontein and in Johannesburg thus far is Sage. And you can, of course, stream it, JahRose, Jafta, Alora, Anthology, on all digital platforms. It is there available. So all these poems that you can scan in the book, we've also availed them on digital platforms.
Okay.
Sage. I do not only burn it to cleanse the space before you, for I have felt your aura across the room. This here is a sacred space. Like Moses, you too leave your sandals by the door. These grounds will hold you. Lay on the grass, particularly when you feel out of balance, walking on air and out of breath. You have come to the right people, whose consciousness are that of enlightenment. They light the sage because they too are it, a sage. Tandaza, 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 rapella, 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 rapella. Because I am one too. A sage, mantra, disciple of scribes written on my forehead, hid on my tongue, commandments and authority was placed in my spirit at ancient of times, time to reclaim it and manifest. My spiritual wand was placed in my hands to multiply. We are here to build, heal, and teach. You are one too, a sage. Rapella, 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 tandaza, 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 rapella. I am a clairvoyant who speaks visions of life, who catches dreams with eyes wide open. Not even the night can darken your thoughts. Voices and songs rise, pictures so clear in articulation, a world of its own, guarded and guided, because they are it, a sage, Tandaza. The ones who are taught about Siriti, that Siriti is more than a shadow. But when a shadow of a man leaves him, it hardly comes back. It is only met by a wide open grave to swallow it. So integrity is what dignifies your being. Protect your soul always with thoughts of love, spoken in tongues unknown, yet felt. I am one too, a sage, and I know you are one too, a sage. So tandaza, tandaza, rapella, Rapela Xorile.
Guys, that was Nthabiseng Jafta. No, that was Nthabiseng JahRose Jafta. Ah, man, so beautiful on a Friday morning in Bloemfontein.
With the clouds smiling on us,
Ah, man.
raining on us.
Actually, I just saw when we started and it started drizzling, you know, that beautiful rain. I just knew we were going to have a beautiful morning. I can't thank you enough. And I'm just having like goosebumps with everything. And as I said, this is Alora and it's out, as you mentioned. Okay, so for people who want to buy a physical copy,
it's available at Take a Lot, Exclusive Books and Bargain Books. And of course, we are coming to the city near you. We are launching in Cape Town on the 5th of April. Yeah, we're in Cape Town, Waterfront Exclusive Books. And on the 3rd of May, we are in Durban, 2 stores, Musgraves, Bargain Books, and Amanzi Mtoti Exclusive Books. So that is on the 3rd of May. And of course, on the 5th of April, we are in Cape Town. And of course, after that, we'll be branching out to various countries who have already given us invitations.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time. It was really great having you this morning, and all the best with the new journey.
Thank you.
So, yeah, as we say, that is Nthabiseng JahRose Jafta, and my name is Xolelwa Xorile. Thank you very much for joining us here on Lisport. Make sure that you catch us again very soon. Bye.